Moda Media, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ann-Adeva and I am Black. When we talk about adulting, most people think about bills, jobs, and taxes. But for many of us who come from African homes, adulting is more about responsibility than independence. Sometimes it's also about showing up and being responsible for the reflection of your family, your community, and most importantly, your roots. Today, I just really wanted us to talk about how it feels when your success is strongly tied to how successful you are, to your family's reputation, to the reputation of your community, and just your background as a whole. In as much as our independence and our success is tied to our family's survival, I think also we need to channel more the conversation into how we can set boundaries and how we can do that by still building love and maintaining trust within our families. For many of us who grew up in African households, you know that being an adult is not really just about turning 18 and finally being able to move out, being your own big person, taking care of yourself, paying your own bills. It's also about taking care of the family that raised you and ensured your success to where you are at the level that you are, okay? So sometimes this might look like taking care of your siblings, having to babysit, having to financially support your siblings or your family members, or just in general, financially supporting your family. And also the responsibility that comes with being an adult. You're no longer just responsible for yourself, you're also responsible for the people that look up to you and for the people that made sure that you got to where you are today. That's why I feel like most of the times when we make career choices or when we grow up, I don't know if anyone else had that experience, but for me, when I was growing up, I was always thinking okay, I need to make enough money so that I can take care of my siblings. I never really thought to take care of my parents because my parents have their own stuff. They have their own houses, their own cars, their own jobs, their own fulfilling careers. So I didn't really feel that pressure to earn money or an income to come and change the lives of my parents, but more so the lives of my siblings, because we were not really afforded the same financial, academic, or even cultural opportunities that many other children were afforded when we were growing up, you know? So I felt okay, when I grow up, I need to make sure that whatever job it is, I earn enough money to take care of my younger siblings. I earn enough money to take care of myself. I earn enough money to support my family whenever there are things like death or weddings or graduations or matric farewells, whatever it is. I need to be there because now I'm also the firstborn and now I need to champion my family in my own private life, you know what I mean? And a lot of times it's hard to navigate this family integration with your personal identity. Okay, yes, you are grown up now, you're 18, you're able to move out of the house. Especially in my experience already, when I was 18, I wasn't living at home anymore. I lived with my grandmother for 1 year and then I went to university to stay in the hostel, and I stayed there for the rest of my university, my bachelor period. And after I graduated from my bachelor's, I had to move out of the hostel and then I moved into a back room at my mom's house. So when I turned 18, I already had that feeling of being responsible, making my own income, using my money wisely, things like that. And already I could feel people looking to me sometimes to buy bread or to buy a little something or to contribute if there were things needed in the family. And I also could feel this from my siblings because as I grew older, the money started turning from $5 to $10 to $100 to $500 to buy me a wig, to buy me a bag, to I want to go to this concert, I want to go on this trip. So as the time went, I started to feel the responsibility pile on a bit more. When it gets to that stage, in as much as you have now the stability and this independence, it starts to feel like you're living someone else's life or you're living your life for someone else. It doesn't feel like you're in control. It doesn't feel like you have this autonomy. It feels like, whatever decision I make, I need to make with these other people in consideration. I need to make with these other people in my mind, And that's why I feel like it was easy for me to move into the transition of being married, because I was I've been making decisions thinking about other people. I've been moving with other people in my mind already. This also not only creates a mental load, it also creates an extreme amount of expectations, because these expectations are mostly silent. These expectations are not communicated. And you can see this by how people become successful and they don't take care of their family, or then their family starts to say things like, oh yeah, he became a successful soccer player and he didn't renovate his mother's house. Or he became a successful soccer player and he didn't take care of his kids. or he became a successful soccer player and his mom's house is still looking like that, you know? So these are silent expectations. So people raise you with these silent expectations that, okay, this girl is good in school, she's gonna mean something, she's gonna become something one day, and she's going to come back and she's going to reward us for all the hard work that we have put into her as an individual, you know? And I feel like this is also an experience that I have, because I tend to say this to people a lot, that I've always been an adult in some way. Like, I never really had the opportunity to just be childlike, carefree, make mistakes. And I made another video about this, but I feel like now that I've had the therapy, now that my frontal lobe has developed, I think I look at this now with a newer perspective and I'm able to navigate it more. That's why I felt like maybe it's time to just share it again. This also makes you feel like whenever you have your own struggles, you have to minimize or dismiss whatever it is you're going through, because you have to take care of all these other people. And I'm so glad that fortunately I was able to have this conversation with my younger siblings, and I was able to tell them that, hey, this is what I feel like. I feel like there's a really big responsibility from me, and I feel the need to constantly provide for you. And like, you know, every time I do something, I have you in my mind, and I just want to live for myself, and I don't want to feel bad for living for myself. And once I was able to disclose this to my siblings, they got more sympathy for me, and it was also an opportunity for me to be vulnerable in my relationship with them. And they were also able to be more mindful whenever they were asking me for money for things or asking me to help them with something. Then they knew, like, okay, if I don't help them with their assignment, their homework, it's because I'm busy with my master's degree, you know? I'm busy with living my own life for myself. And I think also sometimes we just need to share these things. And I love how Kiki Palmer put it. She said, like, boundaries are, I'm not probably saying this exactly right, but she said, like, boundaries are an opportunity for people to show up for you. And ever since I heard that, I was like, this is amazing, because now I can set boundaries better in my friendships, in my relationships, and even in my own marriage. And if this person loves me as much as I think they do, then this will be an opportunity for them to like step up to the plate and show up for me and our relationship in a way that will now serve both of us better. Because in as much as I also feel like there's this need for you to be, because now you're the adult, right? Now you suddenly have to keep, the relationship just changes. When I was younger, my aunties used to call me all the time. They used to text me all the time. They used to comment on my Facebook posts, whatever it was. We always, they were mostly in charge of the communication. But as I grew up, as I grew older, I was like, oh, she's not calling me anymore unless I call her. She's not inviting me over for the vacations unless I invite myself over. So you also start to see slowly that people withdraw themselves from you. And I had this conversation with my mom as well. I was like, yeah, why are you not calling me? Why are you not texting me? Like, what's up with that? And she was like, no, I just feel like sometimes maybe I'm bothering you. Maybe you are busy and I don't want to be bothering you. I want you to also have like your own time, your own space, and not feel so guilty to have to pick up when I'm calling. And I get that. But you could also just leave the missed call and I can call you back when I get a chance. But it's just for me to know that, okay, actively you're trying to talk to me, you want to know where I am, or you want to know how I'm doing. And this is the same thing that I also said to my friend yesterday on the phone. I was telling her that if someone is missing from my life, right, if I haven't heard from a friend or a family member of mine, I'm going to call them like, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in forever. Instead of just assuming, okay, she's probably busy, this is this. But I'm missing her though. So why can I not make that effort to call her and ask what's going on with you, friend or family member or auntie or whatever? Because these silent expectations, they lead to mental exhaustion. They lead to you feeling like, okay, I might as well just leave the relationship, because now if I call her because I need something, she's going to say, oh, you're only calling me because you need something. But if I kept calling her, or if she kept calling me and we alternate, then I wouldn't feel so exhausted mentally to deal with everything. And I think communication is, I think, the biggest thing that we lack in our African families, because a lot of times communication is taken as disrespect if you guys are not the same age, which leads me to the point that if we don't break the cycle and start to communicate amongst ourselves, like I have cousins of mine that I don't really talk to on a daily basis, but I know that if I ever have something that I want to do, I can ask them to come and they will show up for me. They've shown up for me multiple times. I have a cousin of mine who's an amazing photographer, Every time I ask him to take my pictures, he will go out of his way to make time. And he's also really busy, but he will always go out of his way to make time to take these pictures of me. And I love that. And I love that now we are not taking silence as disrespect, or silence as abandonment, or silence as distance. We are just taking silence as, he's probably busy, I'm probably busy. If I need something, I can call him. If he needs something, he can call me. And there's no pressure to be like, or a hierarchy thing of like, you don't call me, I don't call you, or a power struggle in the relationship. And I think if we just communicated more, like if we just open our mouths more, then we wouldn't be dealing with the things that we're dealing with. Even when it comes to setting boundaries in your African families, a boundary doesn't always have to be also, I think, the way that we communicate with older people. But I just feel like maybe because I've had more experience, because I remember I said on my Instagram that I didn't notice how open and free my relationship was with my mom when I was growing up, but also because I didn't spend a lot of time at other people's houses. So I didn't get the opportunity to see how other people behave with their parents. But in my household, for example, my dad would set up weekly meetings whenever he was at home. So he would set up a meeting every week. And every week we sit as a family and we talk about how the week was, how we feel, things that happened in that week, any disciplinary issues. For example, if I would like come up with a complaint and say, hey, I feel like my sister has not been washing the dishes when it was her turn, and that's unfair, then my dad would be like, okay, this week she's gonna wash the dishes when it's your turn because you washed the dishes for her last week. And like other issues like curfew, or if you wanted to go to a party or whatever, that would be the opportunity for you to bring it up and say like, okay, this weekend there's my friend's party, I want to go, things like that. You know what I mean? So I felt like, I assumed when I was growing up that everyone had their channel of communication with their family members. Even when I would go to my grandmother's house, for instance, I could talk to my aunties about anything. I could talk to my uncles about anything. I could even talk to them about boys. So I didn't think that communication with adults or African adults was taken as disrespect until I started to interact with with adults outside of my family. So for example, the primary school I went to didn't also help my case because my primary school and my high school were former Afrikaans schools, right? So now my kindergarten and my primary school were former Afrikaans schools, and most of the Afrikaans teachers, like the colored, bastard and Afrikaans teachers, remained after the integration laws were passed. So these teachers also are a little bit, the culture is a little bit Western, okay? It doesn't matter if you're an adult or a child, you can express yourself. So I grew up in that environment where I could tell my teacher, like, ma'am, I think the classes are a bit boring. It would be nice if they would be a little bit interesting. Maybe we can watch more movies, things like that. It was not taken as disrespect. It was not taken as like defiance of authority or anything like that. It was just like, okay, I can make a suggestion and I'm seen as a fully functional human being. So now I go out of primary school and I go into high school with teachers from a predominantly like Oshwambo or like Bantu background. And every time I tell the teacher something in class, then I'm disrespectful. The amount of times I got kicked out of class for asking questions was crazy. But that's just because I didn't think that they were like these, you know, that there were levels to people, because I could talk to my grandmother also, who was extremely old-fashioned. I could talk to her about anything. I had nose rings. I even had a septum piercing, and it was just like, rah, okay, this is what you want to do. Good luck, you know? And I think a lot of times we lack this communication element in our families, which also makes it harder to set up a boundary. So one of the boundaries that I see a lot when it comes to this African adulting family conversations is a financial issue. And I think also financial issues are not that big of a deal, okay? It's very easy for you to say, I'm sorry, I don't have money right now, you know? My latest excuse, which I love to use, is I have to consult my husband. Okay, that's my new one. If I am unable to provide money to someone, or I don't want to borrow money to someone, or I simply don't want to go somewhere, I just say I have to consult my husband. And they already know that's me trying to say no. Just say no. Just say no. I gotta see.
I want to marry.
I gotta see. Just say no. Just say no. No, I gotta see.
Okay, that's me inadvertently saying egg valley, I don't want to go there. Okay, because I just say let me talk to my husband. But if we could just really say to our, like, you could literally just tell your mom that, hey, I feel like whenever I talk to you about boys or about my relationship, you tend to tell me how to behave as a girlfriend or a wife, and this is my relationship, and I want you to allow me to make my own mistakes and have my own learning experiences. Like, do you know what I mean? Just talk to one another. And I feel people are so scared to talk to each other because we want to just let the dysfunction grow, which is also a really important element, a gem that my friend Diana gave me yesterday on our phone call. She said, like, why do we allow the dysfunction in our families to grow at an unmanageable point? Like, we just let the dysfunction grow and grow and grow. We see we have these problems in our family. We just let it grow. We let it multiply. We let it become this big, uncontrollable issue that we could have resolved if we just spoken about it a long time ago. If you have an auntie who's always asking you for money and she has like 4 kids and her kids' dads don't help her, advise her to take the man to court so that she can get money for the children. But I feel like you feeling that emotional blackmail, which is also another thing we need to talk about, is the emotional blackmail that comes with you saying no to your families. I feel like a lot of African families emotionally blackmail the children in their family to do things like, oh, you don't care about us. Yeah, now you live in Germany, you don't care about us. That's not happened to me, but I'm just saying it's happened to people. I know it's happened to people. Set a stern boundary. Even if you feel like, yes, you want to help at home because your auntie used to babysit you, your uncle used to clean your yard, that's perfectly fine, but don't overextend yourself. One thing that I love that I watched from the Financial Bunnies channel, if you don't follow her, please go follow her because I love her Afrocentric financial advice. Okay, so she says, for example, she has a budget in her account also Mapalomako, girl, I'm sorry, but her. She talks a lot about these finances and black family dynamics. So you could also set a budget every month. You can say, okay, I have 100 euros every month set aside that I use to help my family members, whether they ask or don't ask. Maybe you and your family have an understanding every month, you help them with the rent or whatever it is. Then you say, I can only afford every month 100 euros to help anyone in need. So let's say this month Auntie Sarafina asks you for money. Next month, if Auntie Patrina is asking you for money, you tell Auntie Patrina, sorry, the money is gone because I asked Sarafina already. She asked me for 70 euros. There's only 30 euros left. I can give it to you. Hopefully you can go forward and ask someone else for it. Because the reality is most of the time this money is not being used for emergencies. It's not really being used for things that are gonna like multiply the money. It's just like to pay school fees, to pay water, to pay electricity, to pay rent. Then next month again, you need the money again. Do you get what I mean? As opposed to setting up a small cooker shop at home, but like selling fries or something, so the money can multiply. And even if you want to set boundaries with your families, I think the most important thing to remember is that just because it's a boundary, it doesn't mean that it should be the end of your relationship in the family. Another thing that I can also add is not everyone who is your family is good family. Not everyone who is your family is someone that you should keep around forever. Not everyone who is your family is someone that you should aspire to have around forever. I've been trying for how many years now? 2 years to grow my YouTube channel. Some of my family members have supported me, some have not supported me, and that's perfectly fine. But when I get married, if you don't get an invitation in the mail, don't ask me why. When I have my kids and you don't get an invitation in the mail, don't ask me why. Because not all family is good family. What's the point of us being family if you don't support me in the things that matter or that I'm trying to do? Do you get what I mean? You don't always need all your family members. You don't need to have 20 cousins to talk to. If you guys don't get along because you feel like they think you are better than them, then that's the chat. You leave it there, you move on with the family members who actually care about you.
I think I just have to just raise my hands and I'll let it go. Yeah.
You set a boundary. You tell your auntie, hey auntie, I don't like it when you call me all the time unannounced. Sometimes I'm in class, sometimes I'm with my husband, sometimes I'm on the train, sometimes I'm at work. Just set a time and we can sit and we can talk. Because the reality is, if you've ever lived in the Western world, no one has 2 hours to sit and talk on the phone every day. We are busy. We are busy doing laundry, paperwork, bureaucracy, health insurance, looking for work, cleaning, cooking, We are busy people. We don't have the time. We have to now also do our own hair. We have to add that to the list. It's a lot of things to do when you are here. We don't have anyone to help us. We have no neighbors. We have nobody that we can ask for anything. So everything we are doing by ourselves. So when we say, oh, we just don't have the time, and even when we don't have anything to do, sometimes we are tired. We just want to chill, relax on the sofa, and enjoy our day. And that's also what we should be allowed to do. We are allowed to do that. We are allowed to just say, you know what, I'm done for the day. Let me just chill. Let me just relax. Even if you are navigating adulthood as an African, it's most important to remember that at the end of the day, you are an individual. You have your own identity. You have your own goals. You have your own aspirations as a person. And just because you want to be part of a family or be part of a group, it doesn't mean that you have to cut yourself off. It doesn't mean that you have to let go of yourself. You can exist within that you can exist within that family, you can exist within that community. Just because you are Black, just because you're African, doesn't mean that you have to forget about your dreams, forget about your life, forget about your priorities, forget about the things that make you happy, that bring you joy. It's okay. You can do both at the same time. You can put yourself first and still be there for your siblings. I've managed to at least set very strict boundaries. I'm only helping my mom and my siblings. Everybody else, take a break. Everybody else, take a back seat. My mom and my siblings are my top priority. If anyone asks me for money and it's not one of those two people, I tell them very nicely, unfortunately, I can't help you because I already take care of my mom and my siblings. And my mom and my siblings, we also have an understanding. We don't ask money for yappa things. We ask money for important things. No money for wigs, only money for school. Okay? School, health issues, family gatherings, there's money for that. But other things, no money for that. All right. Everyone must also learn to manage their finances the same way that you are expecting me to have a 200 euros set aside for you every month is the same way you can set aside the 200 euros for yourself every month. So with that being said, please let's continue the conversations in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Play fair like ways and pass you up. Ciao.